Commander Zektar's 4 eyes narrowed as he reviewed the personnel files on his holographic display. The Galactic Coalition's newest recruit assignment made no sense. Among the elite Vanguard unit, composed of the galaxy's finest warriors from 12 different species, sat one human file that stood out like a supernova in a field of dying stars. Marcus Chen. Age 19. Previous military experience, none. Psychological evaluation. Prone to impulsive decisions and emotional responses. Lacks discipline. Recommendation, administrative role only. This is insulting, growled Lieutenant Thax, his reptilian scales bristling. We're preparing for the most dangerous mission in Coalition history, and they send us a liability. Fee ai. Other team members murmured agreement. Captain Velna's tentacles writhed in agitation, while Sergeant Kroll's rocky exterior seemed to harden further. Each of them had decades of combat experience, enhanced physiology, and tactical training that made them living weapons. Marcus sat quietly in the corner, seemingly absorbed in what appeared to be a children's puzzle cube, twisting its colored sides with rapid, fluid movements. The other soldiers had initially assumed it was some primitive human stress relief device. The Zarathi Empire has fortified Outpost Omega with quantum shields and automated defense systems. Commander Zektar began the briefing. Intelligence suggests they're developing a weapon capable of destabilizing entire star systems. Our mission is to infiltrate and neutralize the threat. The hologram displayed the outpost, a fortress of impossible geometry suspended in a gravity well, surrounded by a maze of energy barriers that shifted in mathematical patterns every 3.7 seconds. Previous infiltration attempts by elite teams had failed catastrophically. The shield patterns are based on 17-dimensional quantum matrices, the commander continued. Our best tactical AIs have been unable to predict the sequences. We'll have to Fibonacci spirals intersecting with prime number sequences, modified by gravitational variance coefficients. Marcus's voice cut through the briefing like a blade. Every head turned toward the human. He hadn't looked up from his puzzle cube. "Excuse me?" Commander Zektar's voice carried a dangerous edge. Marcus finally raised his eyes, and for the first time the others noticed something unsettling about his gaze. It held a calculating intensity that seemed to process information at superhuman speeds. The shield patterns. They're not random. I can see the algorithm from here. He gestured at the hologram. The Zarathi are using a modified version of human mathematical concepts they stole from our databases. Problem is they don't understand. The emotional component. Emotional component? Captain Velna's translator struggled with the concept. Marcus stood, still manipulating the puzzle cube. You see, math isn't just logic to humans. It's intuitive, beautiful. When we created these algorithms, we built them around patterns that feel right to our brains. The Zarathi can copy the structure, but they can't replicate the illogical leaps that make them work. The puzzle cube in his hands suddenly aligned, all sides perfect, solid colors. Then, impossibly, he began solving it again, but differently this time, his fingers moving in patterns that seemed to dance rather than calculate. "Watch the shield rotation," Marcus said, his eyes fixed on the hologram while his hands worked. The cube. 3rd cycle, 7th rotation, 11th barrier shift, there. The pattern hesitates for 0.3 seconds. Because the Zarathi AI is trying to calculate what comes next using pure logic. But the next sequence isn't logical, it's emotional. It's based on what feels mathematically beautiful to a human mind. Commander Zektar's tactical implants ran calculations at light speed, analyzing the shield patterns. Slowly, his eyes widened. The human was right. There was a barely perceptible hesitation in the pattern, a moment of vulnerability that appeared and vanished so quickly that only something capable of intuitive recognition could catch it. How? Lieutenant Thax's voice was barely a whisper. Marcus finally looked directly at them, his puzzle cube now solving and resolving in an endless, mesmerizing flow. You called me a liability because I'm impulsive, emotional, undisciplined. But those aren't bugs in human programming, they're features. You want to know why humanity has survived every extinction event, every war, every impossible situation we've faced? He paused, letting the question hang in the air. Because when logic fails, when calculations break down, when there's no rational solution, humans don't give up. We get creative. We feel our way through problems that can't be solved by thinking. We make leaps of faith that would be suicide for any other species, and somehow, impossibly, we stick the landing. The room fell silent except for the soft clicking of the puzzle cube. The Zarathi made one critical error, Marcus continued. They assumed intelligence was about processing power. But human intelligence isn't about how fast we think. It's about how we think. Sideways. Backwards. In patterns that don't make sense until they suddenly, perfectly do. Commander Zektar found himself recalibrating everything he thought he knew about humans. Can you predict the shield patterns? Marcus smiled, and for the first time, it wasn't the uncertain expression of a teenager in over his head. It was the confident grin of someone who had just realized he was exactly where he belonged. Predict them? Commander, I don't need to predict them. I can feel them. And more importantly, I can improvise better counter patterns faster than their systems can adapt. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? He set down the puzzle cube, solved, and began pulling up tactical displays with a speed that made the other soldiers step back in surprise. It's not that we're the strongest or the fastest or the smartest. It's that when the universe tells us something is impossible, our first instinct isn't to accept it, it's to ask, but what if we try anyway? As Marcus began sketching infiltration routes that defied conventional military doctrine, mapping paths through the quantum maze using mathematical intuition that no AI could replicate, the other team members began to understand. They hadn't been assigned a liability. They'd been given humanity's secret weapon, a mind that could find solutions where none existed, simply because it refused to accept that none existed. The Zarathi were about to learn why, in a universe full of logical species, the illogical ones were the most dangerous of all.